Ampetuwashte mitakuyapi, Danielle C. Walker, Amachiapi, Mahupapa Lakota, Nauchati Shakwin, Imahata, Denver, Colorado, Awati. Greetings, relatives. And when I say relatives, I mean our Denver community. I come to you with a very clear and uncompromising message. No one is illegal on stolen land. I speak to you as a Native American, as a Lakota, as a citizen of the Standing Rock Sioux Nation, and a resident and a proud community member of Denver, Colorado. And I speak on behalf of many Native communities here and everywhere that have been condemned the unlawful actions of ICE. We stand with our relatives, regardless of their birthplace, who are being torn from their families or violently detained for defending their communities. ICE's campaign of racial profiling, warrantless arrests, excessive force, and complete lack of accountability must end now. We do not want ICE here in Denver or anywhere. Native people, the first inhabitants of this land, and when I speak of this land, I talk about Turtle Island before the concept of borders. We are among those that are being seized and detained. Most recently in Minnesota, we had at least 4 relatives from the Oglala Lakota Nation that were illegally detained. Indigenous people have lived on this continent for thousands of years, long before colonization, making the idea of deportation both impossible and quite absurd. Even our relatives to the south, below the so-called colonized concept of borders, are not illegal. They have homelands here, and many have traversed these lands since time immemorial, and yet are somehow deemed as aliens to these lands. Countless community members have reported being harassed, stopped without cause, interrogated with their documentation, stopped, etc. And this lawless abuse of power is rooted in systemic racism. It is racial targeting, snatching a Native person or person of color off the streets and ignoring their clear identification as a member of our country, of our societies, and detaining them is not an error. It is a direct assault on Indigenous sovereignty and due process. Native Americans are citizens by law, history, and treaty, and these unconstitutional actions must stop. And federal agencies must be held accountable for the trauma that they keep inflicting on our communities here in Denver and beyond. This treatment exposes the cruel irony of Indigenous people being treated as outsiders within our own homelands. These are not isolated or new injustices. They are compound historical traumas inflicted by the federal government, which deepen intergenerational harm to our mental health, our cultural identity, and just reinforce the long-standing mistrust of authorities who have repeatedly broken treaty promises. These federal escalations are part of a sustained pattern of militarized forces endured by Native people, Black and brown communities, immigrants, and other marginalized communities. Again, nobody is illegal on stolen land. We echo calls from the community to rise up and declare that ICE is not welcome and has no authority on tribal lands, urban Native lands, businesses, or other entities. And we must call on our communities to establish rapid response policies and protocols regarding ICE activity and to ensure Know Your Rights resources are available to all our community members and employees, both Native, non-Native, etc. This may mean that our funding and resources might be under threat, but our determination to resist injustice is and should be non-negotiable. We are strongest when we act in solidarity, loudly and clearly. And I call on all of our Denver and Colorado community members to stand together and stand up for one another and truly practice what it means to be a good relative to one another. And when I say relative, I don't mean your cousin or your auntie or your dad. In our Native way, being a good relative means a relationship of responsibility, reciprocity, and care that structures how people act in our community. And together, we all stand on the right side of history to protect the safety and well-being of each other. Pila Maiaye, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Javier Mabry, and I am honored to represent Southwest Denver. We need to be clear about something. Now more than ever, we need leaders with the courage to state clearly that the best thing about our country is that we are a nation of immigrants. We always have been. No person is illegal, and I am always confounded when my fellow Americans are so passionate about keeping new arrivals out of this country or cracking down on people coming here without documentation. Because every American who ever lived, with the exception of the Indigenous, was either an immigrant himself or the descendant of immigrants. Does anybody really believe that George Washington's ancestors came here legally? It's ridiculous. This is an existential moment for our country. ICE murdered Renee Nicole Green and Alex Preddy in broad daylight, and the government, in true Orwellian fashion, is telling us to reject the evidence of our eyes. ICE and the vice president are falsely asserting that they have the legal authority to enter into people's homes without a warrant, which violates one of our most fundamental freedoms, the right to be free from unlawful searches and seizures, the Fourth Amendment. ICE agents a few weeks ago detained and used Liam Conejo Ramos as bait to get his father. And then they shipped them to Texas and held them in horrific conditions. This year alone, at least 6 people have died in ICE custody. Now there's a measles outbreak tearing through a detention facility in Texas. Senator John Ossoff released a report a few months back documenting horrific incidents of abuse by ICE agents in detention centers. One of those reports tells the story of a pregnant woman who was bleeding and seeking medical care who had a miscarriage. Others report sexual misconduct against children. In 1882, the Chinese Exclusion Act barred the entry of Chinese people based on race. In 1892, the Geary Act required Chinese residents to carry registration papers or face imprisonment or deportation. In 1924, the Johnson-Reed Act sought to preserve American homogeny. Every wave of immigrants, Irish, Italians, German, Jews, Chinese, were met with backlash. Every generation was told that the newcomers were dangerous, disloyal, and criminal. Mark Twain said that history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes, and we right now are hearing the rhymes of the hatred that led to the Chinese Exclusion Act in the words of our president, who has linked crime and immigration by saying, "I believe this is in their genes," and we got a lot of bad genes in our country right now. That is a quote from the President of the United States. That is disgusting. The color of your skin, the language you speak are not proxies for wrongdoing, but the United States Supreme Court a few months back tacitly said that skin color and accents could constitute probable cause under the Fourth Amendment. They've told ICE they can stop people solely based on their race. We live in a police state. The federal government has built a surveillance machine so vast, so invasive, so unaccountable that it would have been unimaginable 20 years ago. ICE can now synthesize a vast array of data to determine its targets. They're partnering with companies like Palantir and Paragon to hack into our phones, to access our photos, text, location, and they are taking the position that they do not need to respect the Fourth Amendment if they buy this data. How are any of us okay with that? The breaking down of what I believe to be our most fundamental rights, the rights that make us free, the right to speak out, the right to be free from unlawful searches and seizures. This is Orwellian, and every lover of civil liberty should be screaming from the rooftops that this is unacceptable and doing everything in their power to stop it. ICE must be abolished. It did not exist until 2003. We have never needed a police force solely dedicated to hunting down our neighbors and removing them from a land that most of us immigrated to in the first place. They are the modern day equivalent of slave catchers enforcing the Fugitive Slave Act, sent to hunt down people who fled to find freedom and a better life. And this isn't new, by the way. The abusive practices of ICE were prevalent, well-known, and shameful under Barack Obama and Joe Biden, too. I am so proud to be a lead sponsor on Senate Bill 5. Senate Bill 5 creates a civil cause of action here in the state of Colorado that creates a path for people who live in Colorado to hold immigration agents and federal law enforcement officers accountable when they violate your constitutional rights. ICE agents, when they violate Colorado law, will be held accountable. You are not above the law here in the state of Colorado. I want to close where I started by again taking a moment to appreciate that the best thing about this country is that we are a nation of immigrants. And we are not going to defeat fascists by accepting their framing. ICE does not need body cameras or reform. The murders of Alex Peretti and Renee Nicole Green are on camera. Why do we have Democratic politicians in Congress acting like funding body cameras is going to keep us safe? It's not. It will not keep us safe. We need to abolish ICE, and we need politicians with the courage to back our immigrant communities, which is why I'm proud to stand here today. And I am now going to pass it to Tron Wynn Willis.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here and taking your time to be here. And this is truly a community-led effort, and I thank you all. My name is Tron Wynn Wills, and I'm honored to stand here alongside community leaders, advocates, and neighbors from across Colorado. Today, I speak with and from the Colorado Asian community, vibrant, resilient, and deeply woven in the fabric of this state. This week, many of our families are celebrating Lunar New Year, a season that should be for renewal, family, and hope. In Asian homes across Colorado, red envelopes rest on the kitchen tables, elders are being honored, and children are hearing stories of their dreams their families carried across oceans. And yet, alongside that celebration, many in our community are carrying something quieter, uncertainty and real fear. We need to name this clearly. Asian communities are impacted by immigration enforcement, by ICE. Yet our stories are too often missing from the national conversation. Language barriers and the myth of model minority continue to mask the very real vulnerabilities our families face. In Minnesota, intensified ICE operations have created fear across immigrant communities, including Southeast Asian families. Community reports and documented incidents have raised serious concerns about aggressive tactics and potentially profiling. What is clear is this: American families are affected, and our experience must not be overlooked. But we are not invisible today. When aggressive federal immigration officers increases in our neighborhoods, it does not just affect one group, it ripples outward into classrooms, small businesses, places of worship, and family homes across Colorado. When one family is afraid to drive to work, when one parent hesitates to take their child to school, when one neighbor worries about opening their door, all of us feel that impact. Colorado is strongest when every family, regardless of where they were born, can live, work, and celebrate without fear. This is why gathering like today matters, not because fear disappears overnight, but because community becomes stronger than fear when we choose to act together. You will hear more shortly from partners about the important work of the Colorado Response Network. What I want to lift up today is how Asian American community can and will show up. Colorado is beautifully multilingual. Our families speak Vietnamese, Mandarin, Korean, Tagalog, Khmer, Hindi, Arabic, and many more languages. In the moments of fear or confusion, language access is not a luxury, it is essential. So today I want to speak directly to our Asian community and our multilingual neighbors. If you speak more than one language, your skills are urgently needed. Serving as an on-call language supporter helps ensure that families who reach out are heard, understood, and connected to accurate information when it matters most. This is how we practice solidarity, just not in words, but in real time. And beyond language support, each of us has a role in building a safer, more connected neighborhoods. Meet and talk with your neighbors, like truly meet your neighbors. Create neighborhood signal chats. Deliver food for your neighbors who need support right now. Share verified information, not rumors. Support mutual aid efforts. Accompany someone to court if they are afraid to go alone. Check in on your small businesses on your block. Most importantly, refuse to let any community stand isolated. As we mark Lunar New Year, we remember renewal is not passive. It is something we build together, through care, through courage, and through collective action. When we organize hyper-locally, when we expand language access, when we show up for one another, we make safety, belonging real for every family in Colorado. Thank you for standing in solidarity today. I'd like to welcome Lisa Gonzalez.
Buenas tardes, good afternoon. I'm going to start by saying this. I don't use immigrant. We're migrants. The border, we didn't cross the border crossed us. You live in the state of Colorado. And I start my speech by thanking my ancestors that stood up against injustice, colonization, and oppression. The likes of the Tarahumara, Zapoteca, Mexica, Yaqui. Let's go down the line of the many indigenous people and relatives that are in the millions to the south and call themselves relatives of these two continents. And if we forget, I was grateful that Bad Bunny at halftime of the Super Bowl waved all the flags of America. The United States doesn't own that term just for its citizens, but we do own the responsibility to come together, to stand together in that, and together to unify. And we gather to shine a light on the real impacts of immigration enforcement, on families, on neighbors, on businesses, on safety. These impacts are not abstract, they are deeply personal. Right now, our community is carrying fear. Parents are afraid to take children to school. Workers are afraid to show up to jobs. Small business owners are watching their customer base shrink as it goes on. And neighbors are questioning whether it is safe to report a crime. When fear replaces trust, public safety suffers. When families retreat into the shadows, neighborhoods become less stable. When workers are targeted, entire local economies feel the shockwaves. And yet, alongside fear, something else is rising. We're known for it. We're called the maverick state for a reason. Who else would pass marijuana laws when no one else took the risk? Well, I say I'm grateful we have electeds that will pass laws that will hold ICE accountable. That's where we come from. That's the stock we come from. Indigenous communities, our relatives understand federal overreach. Immigrant families understand displacement. Communities of color understand policies rooted in control rather than care. And still we remain. And still we organize. And still we will act. I want to also continue to express gratitude that we are in a blue state, or a state at least that Trump doesn't particularly like a lot, nor the city. But what does that say? It speaks to the fact that we are standing up for justice, for people, for our community. This leadership matters in these halls. This leadership matters at City Council. But let us be clear, government alone does not protect community. Communities protect community. Lakota leader Sitting Bull reminded us, let us put our minds together and see what life we can make for our children in our future. That is work before us. So what does action look like? It's not good enough just to have press conferences, and get our names in the paper. I really don't care about that. What I care about is, do we know our rights and do we share them with everyone we come across? Fear thrives in confusion and power grows in knowledge. Second, we should be supporting our immigrant small businesses. I do. Oh no more fast food, McDonald's, Wendy's, none of that. I'm going to the small restaurants. I'm going to where I see businesses have been helping our communities grow in our city and our state. And yes, strengthen our response networks. Volunteer. It take you an hour at lunch. Don't eat. Be someone that's a dispatcher for corn. that can confirm people and what's going on. Also, call and meet and remind elected officials you get elected by us. And we applaud you standing strong. If you forget that, then you're not going to get our vote either. And then show up physically and publicly wherever you can. So thank you for all showing up, because you stand in solidarity with all of us, and we have strength in that unity. Organize your community and your block. I organize family. I send everything to them. And I go, what are you going to do? No, don't go to the bar. No, don't go to the restaurant. Let's go to the press conference. And if one or two show up, we won. Support mental health and healing spaces. Spaces in our different organizations in the Native American community, like Servicios and the Chicano community. These actions, small or large, matter, because solidarity is not a hashtag, y'all. It's not just on Instagram. These actions, it's about shared risk. It's about shared responsibility. It is about shared action. Public safety means safety for everyone. It means every parent can drop off their child without fear. It means every worker can go to work safely. It means neighborhoods trust local institutions to report crime and seek help. This is just not about immigration policy. It is about dignity. It is about belonging. It is about whether fear will define our future or who we are as a community. That is what this is all about. Today is not just a press conference, it's a call. Every time we gather, there should be a call to organize, a call to protect one another, a call to build networks that cannot be easily broken, a call to act, not tomorrow, but now. Let us put our minds together, let us organize with clarity, let us stand in solidarity, because when we stand together, fear loses its grip and we have strength. And together we'll continue building a Denver and a Colorado rooted in courage, care, justice, and community. So I say to each and every one of us that what we need to do is act, and act now. Thank you. Neil. My dear friend Neil. Neil Wallace. Thank you.
My name is Neil Walia. I'm the founder of Lotus Public Affairs, a candidate running to be the next state representative of House District 9, and a proud son of the Colorado Indian American community. I'm here to say one thing clearly: abolish ICE. And as much as it makes me happy to see so many new faces joining us in this mission, the reality is that our immigrant, refugee, and asylum-seeking communities have understood this mission for decades. We chose this nation to build a better life. We crossed oceans and deserts to champion the values of freedom, liberty, and justice for all. We came to build the American dream. But that dream has turned into a nightmare. It is a nightmare where we contribute trillions of dollars to the US economy, yet are barred from the very benefits and social securities those dollars fund for hundreds and millions of Americans. It is a nightmare where we literally build houses and businesses, share our food, and enrich the culture of this country, only to be used as a repeated scapegoat. They propagandize our neighbors to believe that we are to blame for the American healthcare crisis, our housing crisis, our safety issues. But the data tells us the truth. Immigrants, documented and undocumented alike, are not the threat. We are the target. This nightmare is fueled by bipartisan betrayal. Democrats and Republicans alike exploit this narrative for political gain while lining their pockets with the profits of billionaires and corporations that are incentivized by our harm. The truth is that ICE and the entities that uphold it are not concerned with safety. They are concerned with profit and power. While families are torn apart, companies like the Geo Group and surveillance giants like Flock and Palantir rake in billions of dollars from a $75 billion federal ICE budget. I hear so-called leaders in this city and in this state say that we must reform this agency. But you cannot heal something that is fundamentally rotten. You do not polish the chains of oppression and call it progress. You break them. You don't reform ICE. you dismantle it. Enough is enough. We are watching a fascist federal government pay people to commit murder and hate crimes with no due process and no accountability, to disappear our neighbors, and to violently rip children away from their families. We denounce these actions when they happen abroad. We must have the moral clarity to condemn them right here in our home. To our elected officials, we are not looking for mayors and governors who seek partnerships with companies that track our communities, harvest our data, and then sell them to our executioners. We are not looking for candidates who take corporate blood money for political gain. We are looking for leaders with the courage to resist and to fight. And to the American people, please do not invest your energy into electoral politics alone. Invest in each other. Invest in the mutual aid work being done by the leaders standing beside me today. Put your time, your dollars, and your bodies into this fight. We may not see the nation we want in our lifetime, but a better world is still possible for our children and our grandchildren. I want to thank my fellow Asian American community leaders, organizations like the South Asian Bar Association, who have helped us host multilingual, culturally competent Know Your Rights trainings for our community members. If you need this in your community, find me online or in social media. We are here for you, and we will come to you. And I will end by saying this. They may kill us, but they cannot kill our message. They can crush our bodies, but they will not crush our spirit. That is a quote from the Indian anti-colonial revolutionary, Bhagat Singh. Thank you for letting me speak today. May God bless you, may God bless Colorado, and may God help the United States of America. And I'd like to introduce Jordan Garcia.
So wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Jordan Garcia. I work at the American Friends Service Committee, and I helped to create the Colorado Rapid Response Network. I'm so happy to see so many incredible people here. I stand on the shoulders of giants, and those giants and community members told us to build something to help protect our community. And so we were tasked with building the Colorado Rapid Response Network. 8 years ago, after the first Trump administration came into office, we decided that it was important to have a place where people could call for help. That wasn't just our personal cell phone numbers. And so we have a 24-hour hotline that functions 7 days a week with 60 dispatchers who answer the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Those are all volunteers. And what they do is they field literally tens of thousands of calls. Some of those calls are ICE sightings, real ICE sightings. A lot of those calls are also rumors of ICE sightings. And what our dispatchers can do is really return back to our community information that's accurate after they have dispatched confirmers to the site to see if it's really ICE activity. That way, our community can decide for themselves, am I gonna get to that doctor's appointment? Am I gonna go pick up my kids? Am I gonna be able to grab groceries today? So we really try to prevent fear from controlling our lives. Another thing that's important to share is that the dispatchers on our hotline are able to give Know Your Rights information. And we are expanding our language access so that we can be able to give that Know Your Rights information in many, many different languages. That is a process, and we need our community to help us do that accurately and professionally. And also, I want to share that we have confirmer trainings, people who go out to verify ICE activity. We cannot train people fast enough. Right now, I think we have over 7,000 volunteers across the state, and it's growing every day. We have trainings coming up pretty much almost every other day in the next coming weeks. So yeah, just such a privilege to be here with you all and to share a little bit about the Rapid Response Network and the inspiring voices of the people here today really boost my morale, and I hope it does for you also.
All right, next we'll hear from Jeanette Vizquera.
Hi everybody, good afternoon. My name is Jeanette Vizquera. I'm senior activist for immigrant rights local and national level, and CEO and founder the Metro Denver Sanctuary Coalition, Abolish ICE Denver, and Sanctuary for All. Organization work direct the people and base the families work together. The families have deportation proceeding or the families is in detention. Navigate all around these families, mutual aid and legal funds. I need to understand something. This situation was only in this moment. The people need to remember in 9/11, everything changed for the immigrant community. Use this government or this situation use the excuse the immigrant people supposed to be as terrorists. But later the system is imagine not only need use these issues for the terrorists, use immigrant people for big business, the big business. Homeland Security original is created for the terrorists, but later follow my community for put in these campaments, kidnapping my people, a similar product or merchandise, for have full these detention centers. How many millions pick up for their geoprocessing center and CCI corporations? How many millions? How many millions used for continue create bad laws for the immigration? How many federal represent or local represent receive money that this corporation for continue use my community for business? In this moment, around the country, the condition in these campaments is very bad. I'm in detention 9 months, 7 days. Prisoner politic for use my First Amendment. No es the first time I'm in these places. I'm understand, I'm activist, I'm organizing, but at the same time I'm impact people. I fight for 30 years for all rights, the all communities. I love it, all communities represent here, back me. But the people need to understand no it's only abolish ICE in this moment. The real help the people is impact. How many mothers and fathers are separated in this moment that you kids? How many? Around the country have more than 104,000 people arrested for your quota have Homeland Security. This is big business. This is business. This is not one problem, the immigration. It's business. If this administration use hate, discrimination, the excuse for arrest my people. If this is not one arrest, the 90% people in detention don't have record criminal. Only need have your quota in detention for continue pick up billions and billions and billions the money. The people need to understand this. The people really need support my community. I have one GoFund here for support my community, for pay you legal fees, for pay bonds, or mutual aid around these families. No es only abolish ICE. Continue pressure for abolish ICE. Pero your energy need go and support these families, continue suffer this condition. Please, I need put attention in this. Some people marching every day. It's okay, but I need support my community. How many mothers and fathers continue in this detention and in this moment try reopen, other in Hudson, Colorado, other in Colorado Springs. I need continue work strong, all communities, in this moment all communities is impact. How many Native American people is in detention in this moment in Minnesota and Arizona? For what every time I'm jumping in all movements, everything what happened in my community affect my life. I'm working in everything, not specific in immigration. In 30 years, I'm work strong for all rights. If this is the community here, represent all communities, include Native American. I'm working here and living here 30 years and never imagine the communities as impact same in this moment. But this is the dark time the people need living. It's very important that people continue organizing, protect each other. The egos in this moment not good. In this moment, everybody need to take your heart. What organization is this? This is the real civil rights movement in this moment. And please, I need real support my community in this moment. I'm every day receive calls the people is kidnapping. Every day receive calls the people in detention. They need help. Some people don't have family. If the community have the responsibility, moral responsibility, to support these human beings. No is products, no is merchandise in this detention, it's human people. It needs the community put your energy and support the immigrant community, not only Hispanic, around the world. Marching is okay, but I need to stop marching and put the real attention and what did you need these families. Thank you everybody. My hope is the people continue organizing, continue support my community. And one day, for 3 years, the people I need continue living this bad dream. Thank you everybody.
Okay, we'll now hear from Stephen Brackett. I am in awe of the courage and the brilliance that has been demonstrated today. And I feel burdened by the idea that a playbook so ancient is still so effective. The very most basic thing that you can do to strip a community of its collective power is to remind them to be afraid. As long as we are afraid, we will be disconnected and we will not know how large we actually are. We are talking about this in a state that has no memory, in an amnesiac place where we do not remember that the indigenous people were here before, that we do not remember that concentration camps were here for Japanese people, where we don't remember that we displaced an entire population to build a university. All of these things we forget because it becomes so much easier for the pain to be redoubled and passed along. We are saying here today that we remember and no more. Not far from this place, when I was a child, I would come on MLK Day for the parade. We would march down Colfax, and for 3 years straight, right outside of this Capitol, there would be neo-Nazis and Klansmen encircled by police because they were being protected on that day. This is what Colorado has been. There is a building just down the street named after an incredible man who was born in Oregon. His name is Minoru Yasui. He sued the US government because they labeled him as an enemy combatant even though he was a naturalized, born American citizen. He sued the Supreme Court to show that he and his people belonged here and always have. You go a little bit further to downtown, you go to Hop Alley, where there was a massacre akin to Tulsa, where Chinese Americans were pulled out of their homes and businesses, beaten and murdered, all because of the color of their skin. That is where we are. And so when we are looking now at this ancient playbook being replayed again, where they are saying that people who live here are now enemies, when we are building concentration camps in Walsenburg, where buildings are being purchased by the Department of Homeland Security to reenact something that we have already expunged from our memory, it is time for us to do something. We remember the story of America, the story of Colorado, the myth of the American West needs to end, and we now are standing as a coalition of people saying that the American definition will change and include all of us, but not because we stand back, but because we decided to fight. So, I am going to ask the folks here if y'all can just gather in a little bit more closely. There are many different things that have been offered today. I'm hoping that anybody who is watching this has taken notes
on the different things that you can do, because the way that fascism works is to make you feel helpless, is to keep you occupied, and to keep you unengaged. There are big level things that you can do. There are low level things that you can do. Call your neighbors. Talk to people around you. Say that the folks around you matter and that they are not going anywhere without you fighting for them. They are not just targeting one of us, they are now targeting us all. And so with this, I would like to invite us to sing a quick song, okay? Why? Sometimes singing or raising your voice can be intimidating and scary, only if you do it by yourself. But if we do it together, we get to see how easy it is to practice bravery and get to see what kind of muscle it is. And the more that we work it, the easier it is for us to stand. So I'm going to ask my people here, I'm going to say something. I'm going to say, if the sun will rise even one more time, I want you to say, so will I, so will I. All right? If the sun will rise even one more time, so will I, so will I. If the sun will rise even one more time, so will I, so will I. If the sun will rise even one more time, so will I, so will I. If the sun will rise even one more time, so will I, so will I. We will rise. We will continue to rise, one day at a time. We are not alone in this. We are together with this. Let's make this declaration together so we can remind ourselves of what this country has never been, but what it could be. As Langston Hughes says, America was never America to me, but I swear this oath, America will be. Thank you.
All right, y'all, thank you so much for coming out. When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
When immigrant rights are under attack, what do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
All right, we are available for a few questions if anybody in the press or audience has some questions.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned you told the Asian American community. You spoke about the Asian American community not being part of the national conversation. Can you provide a little bit more context about the impact the community has had here in terms of ICE?
I mean, throughout the country, a lot of Asian Americans are being, I know that they're being reported as well. So through that is when I talk about being the second most targeted community, we're seeing that in Minnesota, where they were going door to door, and especially to Asian community, the Hmong community in Minnesota. We are seeing that in California as well. And that has been a fear and why we brought everyone together. There have been community members who reached out saying they were afraid to go and celebrate Lunar New Year, right? There's a real, yeah, locally, yes. And so when the Asian community right now is feeling this fear, we have to support them. And I feel like because it has not been part of the national conversation, that is why we brought everyone together, just to make sure that we are being, noticed, that we're not invisible, and that there are Asian community members here to also support them if they feel like they don't have anyone to reach out to. And a lot of, yeah, and Jeanette has updated, there's a lot of Asian Americans, specifically Chinese descendants in a lot of the detention centers right now, who a lot of times don't have family, who come here to America for work and send money back to their country. So there is not a huge support system for our Asian community right now who are in detention centers. So just bringing that to a bigger level, because that has been ignored for so long, I think. And we know we've had anti-Asian American hate for so long and also has been ignored, right? And we know that, especially after COVID, especially during the pandemic. And so I think for us, a lot of our Asian American community here are really trying to find ways to support them and see us visibly, right? I think a lot of times when the model minority myth is part of our culture, is to put our head down and to just stay out of politics or stay out of just stirring the pot in a way, right? And for me, I've just never been that way. And I think the people who are standing here also are not that way. And we have to speak out as much as we can and support this other community that are in the detention centers. And no one really right now is supporting, and that's why I asked for in my statement, like, we need as many multilingual speakers as much as possible to join the Cal Rapid Response. So when they do call, we are reporting it, because right now there is no data, because a lot of our Asian Americans are not reporting their family members because they are scared, right? They're scared of the ripple effect that could happen to their family if they report crime, hate crime, or being detained.
Yep.
I have a question for Yanet. Is that right if I ask in Spanish?
Yeah.
Hay muchas noticias de México en ese momento sobre el consulado de México, que hay una falta de representación, que no vienen a pedir si necesitan recursos o algo así. ¿Nos puede contar si el consulado sí la ha visitado cuando fue detenida y qué le ofreció?
Okay, I don't know who shared this fake information, and detention have more than 300 Mexican people. The consular, for example, in my case, arrested me on Monday. Next day, the consular people is there for what did you need? Every week, the consular go visit different person. In Geo, only is possible have groups, the short groups, the 7 or 10 people. No is possible big groups. It's difficult for the consular people cover all at the same time. I don't know who shared this fake information, but this is not good. In my case, I'm very strong inside. For the old people have this information, what is the resource, the Mexican consular. For example, the Mexican consular, you work here in Colorado or around the country, is in case the people need papers, passport or birth certificate, the W nationality, or one legal consul, this is the resource. I don't know who shared this bad information, but every week the Mexican consular is there.
Okay, any further questions? All right, if not, thank you all so much for coming. I especially want to thank the organizers and community for coming here and standing up for our migrant communities. Thank you all.